After 9 years together, my wife wants to give our daughters up for adoption. I am a 35-year-old man, and my 33-year-old wife, with whom I have been married for 9 years, are going through a difficult time. I am using a temporary name because I am quite active in other subreddits, and I don't want this to be associated with my main account. My wife and I have been together since college, and we got married shortly after she graduated. When we met, she told me that she didn't really like them that much. And although I was a little disappointed, I didn't mind too much. I didn't feel much about it either way. We were very much in love, and things were perfect for a while. Her contraception failed 6 years ago, and I told her I would support whatever decision. She scheduled an abortion but backed out the day before, and later we became loving and enthusiastic parents. She decided she wanted another child, and so we had our second daughter. They are 5 and 10 years old and are absolutely perfect. They are both very well mannered and advanced for their age. Another thing worth mentioning is my wife. She's a seamstress. My job is very demanding, and am out of town for a week once a month, and I work 9 to 6 the rest of the month. I've had this schedule since we got married. Basically, I make good money in the low six figures, and we've never had any financial problems. Over the past few months, I've known something's not right with my wife. Obviously, she's the primary caregiver for our daughters, but recently she's been completely withdrawn when I'm home. I don't mind spending extra time with my daughters, taking care of them, but it's more than that. She completely ignores them while I'm around. If they ask her for something, she tells them to go ask their dad. I've been asking her if she's okay, and she's been insisting that everything is fine. Then, after putting the girls to bed, she came to me and sat me down at the table. She started talking about all the fun things we'd done right after we got married, how wonderful the whole adventure had been, remembering how sweet, funny, and loving she was, and I was caught off guard. She said before we had the girls, we could do whatever we wanted. I wish we could go back to that, I asked her what she meant. After much prodding, she admitted she regretted having children. I told her there were times when I felt overwhelmed too, but that I would always love our daughters. She was quiet, mumbled something, and I asked her to say it again. She screamed, "I don't want them," and then started sobbing. I stood there with my mouth open. She composed herself and then began to talk again. She was saying how she had been researching adoption, and foster care agencies had already contacted one, and was making plans to give my daughters away. I continued listening, too stunned to say a word, as she babbled about how amazing it would be to have our lives back, how great our relationship would be when we no longer had children. I didn't know what to do. I let her talk until she went to bed. Then I went and picked up my babies. We packed some things and I drove to my mother's house. Today, I called in sick to work. I told them I would probably be out the rest of the week. I have a lot of missed calls, voicemails, and texts from my wife. I haven't looked at any of them. I spent the day talking to my mom about things and keeping the girls occupied. My mom doesn't know what to do either. I'm thinking I have a couple of options: start calling lawyers or start calling mental health professionals, maybe both. I don't know if she's having some kind of psychotic episode or if she's just a terrible person. I really don't want to go back home to her now. I'm thinking divorce is the best option, but I can't take care of my daughters on my own. What should my next move be? Should I try calling my wife? Edit dot with additional information. It's not like I forced her to have children. She decided against an abortion and decided to have a second child herself. She approached me about it and was so happy when I said, yes, let's do it. She never asked for help. She didn't let on that things weren't perfect until the last few months when I repeatedly asked if things were okay. She kept her feelings to herself until she was ready to give up on our daughters and was making real plans about it behind my back. Everyone's acting like I'm the bad guy here for working long hours. But it's not that simple. No matter which way things go, I will definitely try to get a nanny. Update 1. My wife, a seamstress with many ways to escape and time away from the children, told me she didn't love our daughters and casually mentioned she was looking to put them up for adoption so we could be newlyweds again. I was stunned. I took my daughters to safety at my mother's house. After my wife went to sleep, I hesitated a bit after the initial response I received from my first post. I didn't expect anyone to be on my wife's side. I should have given more information from the beginning, but I didn't realize all those things would be relevant. I thought that from the fact that she was trying to put our daughters up for adoption without my knowledge, people would realize the problem was with her and not trying to say I'm perfect at all. But I received a lot of unfair criticism anyway. After explaining our situation a bit more, I received a lot of helpful advice and support. I appreciate everyone who commented or sent me a private message. I took a lot of the advice to heart. This update is going to be long. A lot of really crazy things have happened. I'm in the process of finding a nanny that she lives with us now, and I appreciate everyone who suggested it yesterday. I contacted a lawyer for advice and then I mustered up the courage and called my wife. One of my close friends lives a few houses down, so I explained the situation to him and put him on hold. I left my daughters with my mom and went back home to find her absolutely furious, the first words out of her mouth were, "Where the hell have you been, you piece of trash?" When I got to the house, she scolded me for leaving without saying a word and for not answering my phone. She accused me of cheating on her, called me a pig and other things, and went on for a good 15 minutes straight. She didn't say a word about the girls. She didn't ask me where they were or if I had taken them. It was as if she had forgotten they existed. I interrupted her and told her where I had been and that I had taken the girls to my mother's house. She seemed bewildered and asked me why. I explained that the way she had talked about giving them up for adoption was not acceptable, and since she didn't care about them, I didn't think they were safe. Her eyes flickered. Today, and word by word, she said, "Wait, do you want to keep it? Do you love me?" I lost my composure and not proud of it, but I couldn't stay calm. This escalated into a screaming match with me, telling her she was crazy and her yelling that I didn't love her. I ransacked the house and packed valuables and personal documents while she was screaming at the top of her lungs. The whole time, my friend came in to try and calm her down, but she threw a plate at him and told him to get lost at this point. I called the police. She sealed her own fate by punching one of the officers and then biting the other once she was handcuffed now. I'm 100% sure she's having some kind of psychotic break, shall be evaluated soon, but either way, I'm going ahead. With the divorce, I doubt I'll have any problem getting full custody, especially with that call to the adoption agency on her phone records after my wife was arrested. I cleaned the house and took my daughters back home. They still haven't asked where mommy is, but I don't know what to tell them when they do, thinking about taking on a less responsible role at work, at least so. I'm not absent for the entire week. I'd still rely heavily on a nanny, but I can't bear the thought of my daughters not having a father to tuck them into bed every night. Growing up, my father was schizophrenic. I'm not interested in putting my daughters through what I went through. Even if she receives treatment, it will be a constant worry for me if she has cancer or another illness. It won't affect her love for our daughters. I wouldn't have to worry about her hurting, abandoning, or harming them when I'm not around. That's the difference. I called my mom, and she said she told my daughters their mom had to go on a trip for a while, which is why they haven't asked about her until now. Update 2. In short, I met with my wife. She didn't even realize the girls weren't home. She accused me of not loving her, then assaulted my friend. I called the police. She was arrested, punched one officer, and bit another. It's been a while since my last update, but things are progressing, so I thought I'd post something. My wife was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. She's receiving extensive therapy and trying to sort out her legal issues as well. I'm still not sure where that's going. My wife's parents have been helping her with the legal arrangements since she refuses my help and didn't even want to use my insurance to help with her medical bills. In the end, she had to do it anyway, and I've been sending money to her parents to help pay for what's left. We mutually decided to go ahead with the divorce. She didn't want custody of our daughters, or even to visit them. I practically begged her to at least come for their birthdays and holidays, but she said no. I hope it's because of her illness and that once she progresses enough with her treatment, she'll change her mind, but I'm not going to hold out hope. I found a wonderful nanny who is fantastic. With my daughters, according to her, they are very self-sufficient and don't need much help entertaining themselves or anything. I really suspect that my wife has been ignoring the girls. Even when I wasn't around, they've been constantly asking me when mommy is coming back, and I don't know what to tell them. I have to try really hard not to cry in front of them because I don't want them to worry about me. We've been going to family therapy together, but we still haven't found a way to explain that mommy might never come back, or that she might come back and not be nice, or that she might come back and be herself again. My friend, the one she threw a plate at, and his wife and children have been spending a lot of time at my housetto keep us all together, has been a lifeline during this whole experience. Decided not to press charges against my wife for the plate incident. This will probably be my last update. The comments I've received from you guys have really helped keep me going during these events. Even just getting validation that I'm not crazy helped. Thank you for everything. Reddit edit. My wife is resolving her legal issues on her own by choice. It turns out she has bipolar disorder, but after medication and therapy, she still doesn't want anything to do with our girls. I don't know how to explain things. Not even in therapy, but my friend and her family have really been there for us during this difficult time. Story 2, I found my wife's pregnancy test in the bathroom. What should I do now? I'm 35 and my wife is 34. We met in college. It was love at first sight. We were in the same thesis group during our senior year. We went to a big university and didn't they have the same major, so we didn't cross paths until then. We were both from two different states, but we loved the city where our university was, so we planned to stay there after. After graduating, we didn't want to live together right after college because we were worried it would put too much pressure on our relationship. We continued dating as usual for a year after graduation and decided we wanted to live together. From then on, I never doubted our relationship. I knew she was the only woman for me and planned to marry her. I proposed when we were 25, and many of our college friends were surprised. A lot of people didn't think we would last. No one ever explained why, apart from the fact that my wife and I were total opposites. I was always very introverted and quiet, and she was extroverted and had a tendency to be loud. Sometimes she was the life of the party anywhere, and people were drawn to her. That was one of the things I loved most about her, so I didn't even think twice. After we got married, we were together for 12 years. We had 3 children together. We had a house and we planned to retire in 10 years and move to a small town in Vermont, unfortunately. My wife decided to throw all of that away. My wife was an executive she was a marketing professional and had a pretty luxurious job. She traveled a lot and managed many foreign clients for her company. I always thought we had a solid foundation for our marriage, so I never worried about her when she traveled abroad for business. I knew she was going sightseeing and that she had friends in different countries, but I never suspected she was cheating on me when she left. I never suspected anything until I found a pregnancy test in our bathroom while she was away after our third child. We decided we didn't want any more children. We went over all the options, and the least expensive and least invasive way to prevent pregnancy would be to get a vasectomy, so I did. After that, my wife stopped taking birth control and we didn't have any problems. So when I was cleaning my bathroom and saw a pregnancy test in the trash can, it woke me up. I had some suspicions in light of recent events. She had been showing signs of morning sickness, but if she needed to take that test, it meant she was at risk of getting pregnant, and I knew it couldn't have been because of me. When I found the test, my wife was abroad 6 hours ahead of us, and I knew she was probably sleeping, at least when I spoke to her around 4 p.m. my time. That's what she told me she was doing. Out of curiosity, I checked her location on my iPhone to see that she wasn't at her hotel. It seemed she was at a restaurant in the heart of Stockholm. If she wanted to go out to dinner with a friend, she would have told me, and I wouldn't have had any problem with that. Instead, she lied to me about going to sleep. I knew that if she was lying to me, she must be up to something. I went into her office and accessed her computer to check her emails. Fortunately for me, she kept her login credentials in her notebook. I searched everywhere I could for any sign of an affair, and I found it. It seemed she was having sex with the client she was traveling with at work. I checked the emails and saw exchanges of photos and updates about both of their lives. The message chain I found went back 3 years, but it seemed there was even more before that. They talked about their families and plans for the future. Many of the messages seemed very friendly, then some were extremely explicit. I did some investigating and found out who the guy was. I already knew he was a client, but I didn't know that when my wife was studying abroad at university, she met him and they had stayed in touch ever since. She knew him even before she met me. It seemed like they were both living their lives with their families and jobs, and whenever they had the chance, they met up for sex. I spent all night going through the vast history they shared, trying to piece everything together. I was devastated. That's why I loved my wife more than anything in the world, and she had kept such a secret from me the entire time I knew her. I didn't know the person I was married to, and I wanted to leave. There was no way. I was staying with someone who could lie the way my wife had. I contacted Allow Your Off Divorces as the first thing in the morning, and I sent them all the documents I had collected with screenshots from my wife's computer. In addition to everything else I found, I discovered some interesting business secrets between my wife and her lover that I thought her boss would want to know about. Mainly her trips abroad were totally unnecessary. She was budgeting for fake trips at work. In complicity with company cards, there were private conversations between her and the other man where they planned dates to meet and created viable excuses for work. It was just an additional level of how deceitful my wife was. I didn't tell my wife anything when I discovered everything. Instead, I waited for her to get home, however, when she texted me before her 13-hour flight home. I had a brilliant idea to ruin everything for her while she didn't suspect anything. I contacted her boss and sent him everything. He was shocked by the information and told me he would talk to others to see if he could get more information. Meanwhile, I packed for myself and the kids and went to stay at my mother's house. We were going to be there when my wife got home later that day. I put my kids to bed and anxiously awaited my wife's phone calls while she realized exactly what was happening to her. Around 1 a.m., I received dozens of texts and calls from her saying we needed to talk. She asked where I was with the kids, and all I did was reply that I was divorcing her and that the kids were safe with me and their grandmother. She ended up coming to the house and demanding to see the kids while they were sleeping, causing a huge scene. I showed her the kids so she would know they were okay, then I told her to leave. I advised her to get a divorce lawyer and be prepared for what her boss had in store for her, she told me. I had no right to go through her personal belongings the way I did and that she planned. To sue me, I didn't know how something like that would hold up. But I thought I'd talk to my divorce lawyer about it anyway, as I understand it's something similar happened with her colleague abroad. I sent information to her employer about the misuse of company time and funds. I didn't know them, but I followed his wife on social media to see if there were any updates. In the end, she dumped him. I divorced my wife, and she tried to put up a big fight in court. There was no reason for her to sue me in. Anyway, besides the divorce, her ex-employer filed a lawsuit against her for embezzlement of company funds. It looks like she's going to get away with a hefty fine, but she probably won't face jail time. However, the embezzlement lawsuit helped me at the custody hearing. Now I'm living happily without her. At first, it hurt a lot, and it took a lot of adjustment, but now I know she didn't. She was who I thought she was, the woman I married would never have treated me the way she did. I'm glad I discovered who she really was and left her while I still had the chance.